trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
But they'll do it regardless. Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, but
they make anybody into boogeyman.
It has.
I think it was
just have more weight when it's real.
If Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast, I don't know if that's great politically for that party.
It's now clear. Socialists have pushed their way into the Democratic Party, and Mamdani victory in the New York mayoral race just confirmed it. Even the party key insiders are beginning to embrace his ambitious far-left agenda. And that could spell serious trouble for the DNC. That's where Bill Maher steps in, acting as the party's reluctant truth-teller, warning how Democrats lost their footing and how they might still get back on track. Let's break it down.
This is Mamdani, if you've been not following the news. He won the Democratic primary in New York, so he is certainly likely to be the next mayor. We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of opposition because we've never had someone this radical. Some of the things he says, prisons were obsolete. What purpose do they serve? I could think of a couple. The NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. I think most people think cops are protecting their public safety, even though there's issues and problems with the police department. Do you like capitalism? No. We've never had a guy quite like this. You know, he quotes Marxist, each according to their need. I mean, that's straight up communism. Whether you call it the abolition of private property, you call it housing guarantees, it's preferable to what is going on right now.
Maher saw it coming long before anyone else. Months ahead of the election, he was already raising alarms about Mamdani, and something tells me that warning is going to age remarkably well. He caught the warning signs early, just as he always does. This isn't the first time Maher instincts have been spot on. Remember when he cautioned the DNC against running Kamala Harris for president? They ignored him, convinced they knew best. The result was one of the most humiliating losses in recent political memory. It's as if the party is doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Maher isn't a prophet, but he has a sharp instinct for political catastrophe. And if his track record means anything, Mamdani's rapid rise might be the opening chapter of the DNC next slow-motion collapse.
I mean, just the phrase abolition of private property, not something we usually hear in America.
There's always a villain. There's people. They always try to create a villain. Is my point. They always try to create some boogeyman or boogie. No. If it wasn't this one,
quotes.
It was going to be somebody else.
I'm not creating anything.
I'm not defending the policies. There are plenty of things that I disagree with there, and that I don't come down on.
You're going to have to answer everything like this. They're going to ask every single Democratic politician.
But the point being, we see this every cycle. I've now been doing this long enough to know that every single cycle, there's some contrived villain or boogeyman.
This guy completely missed Maher's point, and you can read it all over Maher's face. A blend of disbelief and barely contained irritation. No one is trying to paint Mamdani as some manufactured boogeyman. We've said it over and over on this channel. He doesn't need any help looking extreme. His own statements and policies do that on their own. Every warning Maher gave about New York. New mayor wasn't spin or distortion. It came straight from Mamdani's own agenda. When a politician openly challenges the foundations of American capitalism, people are going to notice, and they should. Maher isn't attacking him. He holding up a mirror, forcing the left to face what it doesn't want to acknowledge. If Mamdani ends up looking like the villain, that's not Maher shaping the narrative, that's just the reflection.
And if it wasn't this
one, he's not contrived. He's going to be the mayor of New York.
The thing that I find the most appalling, which is that he defends the expression globalize the Intifada.
Yes.
Everything that the crazy far right alleged about Barack Obama, wasn't born in America, right. Islamist, socialist, right. Anti-Semite, hates America. It's all true about this guy. Right. Okay? It is all true about this guy. And the fact that this man is on the verge of becoming the mayor of the second largest Jewish city in the world is very frightening. And I'm actually really disappointed that more Democrats have either, are not coming out and condemning him and saying we're not going to endorse this guy because he is beyond the pale.
Maher saw it coming long before the final ballots were tallied. He knew Mamdani was on track for victory, and he was absolutely right. The signs were all there. glowing media coverage, surging progressive enthusiasm, and the party's steady shift further left. But Maher didn't just foresee Mamdani win, he warned that it could pose serious risks for the Democratic Party future. And frankly, he has a point. Capitalism isn't perfect. No system is. But socialism isn't the flawless solution many on the left like to imagine. It promises fairness and equality, yet too often ends up stifling innovation, shrinking opportunity, and expanding government reach into every corner of the daily life. Maher understands this. The current march towards socialism isn't progress, it's a gradual undoing of what helped America prosper. And unless the DNC snaps out of it soon, there may not be much of a future left for them to protect.
The Republicans are not that, democracy is just not number one on their list. It just isn't. It isn't. It's behind Christianity and a few other things. And the Democrats, I mean, I read these, 74% are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism. Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars? If we don't, I mean, where are the Democrats going with this?
And that right there explains how Mamdani, with his Marxist lines and openly socialist agenda, managed to rise to the top of the DNC ticket. The Democrats aren't just dabbling in socialism anymore, they're practically settling in with it. The shift is impossible to miss. What used to be a party balanced between moderates and progressives is now being steered by self-proclaimed socialists who see capitalism as the enemy and redistribution as the remedy. This isn't about fine-tuning the system anymore. It's about tearing it down and rebuilding it from scratch. And while the party old guard may pretend everything is under control, reality is catching up fast. They'll adapt or get pushed aside. The ideological winds inside the Democratic Party are stronger than ever. And Mamdani isn't the final chapter of that storm, he's the opening act, a warning shot for a movement that could reshape or even unravel the DNC as we know it.
Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars? If we don't, I mean, where are the Democrats going with this? If Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast, I don't know if that's great politically for that party.
This isn't good for the party, and it's definitely not good for the country. With Mamdani influence growing on the East Coast and Katie Porter gaining momentum out west, the Democratic Party is steering itself straight into turbulent waters. This isn't just a partisan shift, it's the makings of a national crisis. America works best when both major parties keep each other grounded, when debate is shaped by reason instead of ideology. We need a strong Democratic Party, one that challenges the GOP with ideas rooted in freedom, pragmatism, and balance, not recycled socialist experiments that have failed before. The DNC can still reclaim that mission, but only if it stops chasing radical slogans and starts rediscovering its spine. Right now, it's drifting away from the principles that once defined it. And if this downward slide continues, it won't just damage Democrats, it could destabilize the political equilibrium that sustains American democracy.
New York is New York. It's definitely it's the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time.
Maher is convinced that Mamdani election all but guarantees a GOP win in the next national race, and honestly, he might be right. Sure, it's early, and politics can shift in a heartbeat, but Maher has a knack for spotting trends before everyone else. His reasoning is simple. Middle America isn't buying the socialist experiment. These are everyday Americans who still back capitalism. Not because it's perfect, but because they've seen what happens when governments try to replace it with heavy-handed control and endless redistribution. They know socialism can sound noble in theory, but tends to collapse in practice, bringing higher taxes, fewer jobs, and little incentive to build or innovate. If the DNC keeps sliding left under leaders like Mamdani, it won't be challenging the GOP, it'll be handing them the election. Maher's isn't fear-mongering, he's forecasting. And if history is any indication, his warning may be the political prophecy Democrats can't afford to ignore.
It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party
I think
nationally.
the Republicans are going to.
When you let the Democrat socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get. The state-run grocery stores, which work so well in Cuba and the Soviet Union and Venezuela, just bad idea.
Maher once warned that nominating Kamala Harris would be the political equivalent of handing Donald Trump the presidency. And he wasn't wrong. At the time, few took him seriously. Critics dismissed his warning as cynical or alarmist. But now, history seems poised for a repeat. This time, Maher's caution isn't about Harris, it's about Mamdani. He's sounding the same alarm, predicting that Mamdani's rise could set the stage for a Republican landslide in 2028. And once again, many are shrugging it off. But Maher has a track record of spotting political trouble before it hits. He understands voters, their instincts, their boundaries, and their skepticism toward far-left ideology. Ignoring him once was a mistake. Ignoring him twice could be political self-destruction. If the DNC refuses to learn from the past, it won't just risk losing the next election. It could end up handing the White House back to the GOP on a silver platter.
No, but he will, trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let's be clear. Names like Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, and AOC didn't become controversial by accident. And they weren't villains manufactured by some political smear campaign. They earned their reputations the hard way. Take Pelosi, for example. Once celebrated as a powerhouse speaker, she now emblematic of political hypocrisy, making massive profits from stock trades that raised serious ethical questions while leading Congress. Then there, Gavin Newsom, whose leadership has turned California into a cautionary tale, rising homelessness, skyrocketing living costs, and a steady exodus of residents. And, of course, AOC, the face of modern woke politics, has perfected the art of performance activism. But her theatrics often overshadow meaningful policy. The GOP didn't invent these criticisms. These politicians practically handed them out themselves. When public officials consistently act in ways that betray voters' trust, calling it out isn't demonization, it's accountability. And that's exactly the point Maher has been making all along.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Even many socialists have quietly realized that their ideals don't hold up in the real world. But instead of letting go, they're giving socialism a fresh coat of paint, rebranding it with buzzwords like equity, social justice, and economic fairness. Different labels, same failed ideology. History has already spoken. Every nation that has gone all in on socialism has ended up with economic collapse, bloated government control, and widespread poverty. Meanwhile, capitalism, imperfect as it is, has driven innovation, lifted billions out of poverty, and rewarded hard work. It's not flawless, but it remains the most effective system humanity has developed. If the left wants to regain credibility and public trust, It needs to stop rewriting economic history and start embracing pragmatic capitalism again. Maher warnings aren't just political soundbites, they're reality checks. From Clark Harris to Mamdani, his record shows what happens when ideology outweighs common sense. Repackaged or not, socialism fails wherever it's tried, while capitalism continues to drive progress and prosperity. That's the lesson the DNC can't afford to ignore. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives like this.